and welcome to How Did You Show. Today my guest is a one and only fantastic Lucy Ingram, who is serving a full-time in the military with her beautiful wife Stephanie, and they are a real inspiration for everyone, and they're going to share with us today how they got their first Rent To HMO. So I'm going to pass it over to Lucy. Lucy, can you tell us more about you, who you are, for those who don't know Lucy?
Oh, thank you, Lenka, for having me on your show. I'm so proud and honoured to be a guest on your show. So yeah, a little bit about me. I'm kind of half and half of Ride Property. So I own Ride Property with my wife, as you mentioned, Stephanie. She's at the minute, she's looking after our puppy at the minute. We've got a 13-week-old French bulldog who is running us ragged. So Steph is in the garden with the pup at the minute, keeping her busy and out of trouble. But yeah, so we've got we've got two property businesses. Our main property business, which is Ride Property, and we have our newest business, which is Ride Lifestyle. So that's more of the rent to rent side of things, which I know we're going to talk about more today. So yeah, I've kind of been in the military now for almost 20 years. So I've almost done my full career, and I'm very much looking forward to the next chapter, which will be as a civilian when that comes, which is not going to be that far away. We're both striving to build something together that we can do together full time, and we can start to buy back some time. So we are Ride Property, me and Steph, and our new French bulldog Cersei. We're just enjoying life down in Devon, and we just love networking with the community and all the new people that we've been introduced to over the last year. So we're fairly new, which I hope is going to resonate with your listeners. We are very new into our journey. We're just over a year really in. We've kind of gone from 0 to 5 rent to rent HMOs in pretty much less than a year. And we've got a small buy-to-let portfolio as well. But yeah, we're very much at the beginning of our journey. So keen to try and help anyone that's us 6 months ago, which is hopefully the idea of this episode.
Exactly. Oh, well done. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really, really exciting having you. As I already said, that you are a real inspiration. And as you said, you are in the beginning of your journey, but in 1 year, you achieved quite a lot, considering that you are both still in a full-time job. I think, are you still in a full-time job, or now you're part-time, or you still full-time?
No, I'm full-time military, and Steph is full-time military as well. So Steph is a GP, so she runs a practice, probably the biggest kind of GP practice, one of them in the military. So she runs that. We reside down here in Devon, in Plymouth. And Steph's not been in quite as long as I have. So in the Navy, that is referred to as a sprog, but she'll kind of kick me for saying that. So Steph's been in for just over 10 years now. Mm-hmm. Not as far along as I am, and I am kind of almost 20 years now. So both still full time, very much still full time. But luckily, as we know, property is one of those areas and one of those businesses that we can give a little bit of time to every single day. A couple of hours a day is enough to create something, really special, hopefully, and sustainable going forward.
See, and that's exactly that was my exact point, that you managed to do that. All you built your little portfolio, but you said 5 rent to HMOs as well in 1 year time with full-time jobs. It's just amazing. So yeah, I'm very excited about having you. I'm sure you're going to share. I'm sure you're going to have lots of golden nuggets for the beginners out there. So let's move on. So we know who is Lucy now. So Lucy, can we ask, why property?
Okay. Ride Property. So, I mean, as most landlords and property investors, property developers, it kind of found us by accident. So Steph was deployed to the Far East for 10 months a year ago. So kind of before we started doing property, and giving it our all, she was deployed for 10 months to the other side of the world. And I had quite a nasty snowboard accident where I had some open shoulder surgery and I was confined to the house, twiddling my thumbs, not really knowing what to do. So at the same time, kind of concurrently on other sides of the world, Steph and I found property. Steph found it first by kind of just, I think she picked up Rob and Mark's Secrets into Property Investing. She started reading that, kind of pulled me into it as well and said, right, this property investing, we need to start looking into this a little bit more. We had our first property, which was our main residence at the time. Now that was bought in Bicester, which is Oxfordshire, middle of the country. A lot of people in the military, a lot of military couples will try and find somewhere in the middle, so neither one of you have a massive commute, and that was something that we tried to do. So we picked Bicester, and we pretty much just threw a dart at the centre of the country and found Bicester and decided to move there. So we purchased our first family home, and as what happens to a lot of military people, you get moved along. So me and Steph ended up both getting transferred to the southwest, so nowhere near Bicester. So we were now suddenly 4 hours away commute, and it didn't work anymore. So we decided to rent that property out, as many people do. That first kind of residence, we ended up renting it out. We got a consent to let. We rented it out to a lovely family, and we both moved down to Plymouth, and where our new jobs took us within the military. In the military, you get moved on every kind of 2 years or so. So we both ended up down this neck of the woods. We rented the property out, and that's how we really started to think about utilising property as a method of earning money and earning income. And then whilst I was kind of confined to a shoulder surgery, Steph was away, we discovered how you could turn it into a bit of business, how there's opportunities there to make it a lucrative business opportunity and something we could do together.
That's amazing. Fantastic. So you had as many people would call it, became an accidental landlord, really, originally. And then you got actually the idea. I was like, ooh, there's a nice cash flow can be created from owning a property. So why not? And then you obviously, I assume then you found out more about rent to rent strategy and things like that, no? So just all kind of rolled into together. I assume, yeah, when you said that you started with like buy to let, and now you have a rent to rent as well.
Yeah. So I mean, we had that first initial property, which we turned into essentially a buy to let, and actually we changed the mortgage just recently as we came out of the fixed mortgage on that one. So that is now actually a buy to let property. But yeah, during that time, Steph came back from her deployment, and we just dived in and we got educated. And something I would really advocate to any of your listeners that are thinking about doing some education and investing their time and effort into getting educated, whether that be attending courses, whether that be getting mentors, reading books, there's so much free content as well on YouTube and Audibles. So I would definitely get educated. But then you need to take action. So that was something for us. We invested a lot of time and energy and into educating ourselves, and that was something that we felt completely opened our minds up to all the different strategies that you can utilize with property. And rent to rent for us was a great strategy to build cash flow. Not everyone's got endless amounts of capital to be able to throw into buy to lets. So for us, it was a really great strategy to run alongside building up a buy-to-let portfolio.
Amazing. Now, just for those beginners out there some people they heard of rent to rent, some people never heard of rent to rent, but just to a little bit explain, rent to rent in the most simplest way actually is it's basically you rent a property off someone and rent it out legally to someone else for guaranteed rent. So guaranteed rent is one of the keys, isn't it? So for the landlord to actually receive a guaranteed rent, someone who is happy to receive slightly less than maybe would get if they would be renting out themselves, but they have no hassle. So, and legally you can rent it out to someone else. And there are a few different ways you can do it: rent to HMO, as we were saying, which is house of multiple occupancy, or rent to service accommodation. You can also do rent to single let, but it's not that common really, and it's a much less profit in there, but it is option as well. So just for those out there who don't know what rent to rent means. So just a little bit of explanation for that. Right, so as the name of the show is How Did You? So Lucy, can I please ask you, how did you get your first Rent to HMO, please?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, we got educated, so that was something really important to set us off on the right footing. We very much delved into the progressive No Money Down training with Kevin McDonald. I don't know if any of you, I'm sure some of your listeners have either been on those courses or certainly thinking about it. And Kevin's course was really, really incredible actually, and it opened up our eyes so much. We learned a hell of a lot over a 3-day period. We met some incredible people, as importantly. And, off the back of that 3-day training, we just dived straight in. We took action. We started to develop a direct-to-vendor kind of marketing strategy. So many different ways in which you can do that. And for us, when we first started, it was utilising leaflets and utilising direct-to-vendor HMO letters. And that's where you can use the HMO register to gather all the addresses from registered HMO landlords in your area. So we developed a strategy in how we could get to our vendors and our landlords. We also did a hell of a lot of due diligence on our area. So we were fairly new to Plymouth, and that's our area now. This is where we live. So we had to do a lot of research into the area: what works, what doesn't work, what the demand is like, what's the existing supply like, is the demand there? So things like dummy ads on Spare Room, where you can just test the market a little bit. You can see what is the response rate, and we did that straight away, and we got a really good response rate. So we were comfortable, we were confident that this strategy is going to work. Something for Plymouth that we found out very quickly as well was actually the student market is on the decline a little bit. But the kind of blue collar, white collar market is, your kind of young to mid age working professional is on the up. So we knew there was a niche there to be able to target landlords that were maybe just a little bit sick of, they're struggling student HMOs where they were struggling to fill their rooms. They'd been doing it for like 15, 20 years, so they were just sick to the back teeth of, running HMOs, because it's difficult. It's not easy. If you want an easy strategy, don't pick rent to rent HMO, because it's not easy. Absolutely not. And we found there was a lot of landlords that were just tired. Maybe they didn't have the funds or the inclination to drive up their properties to be able to target a different audience, which what a blue white collar worker wants out of a room is going to be different to what a student perhaps wants. So there's a difference there. And for us as wanting to come in and lease a property for a long period of time, to be able to give a landlord the guaranteed rent that they need, but to still make a profit, we need to drive the rent up. So we have to find properties where we can add the value, we can come in and do like a cosmetic refurb, not spend the earth because it's not going to be our property. So we have to be careful with that, and we have to balance it and make sure the numbers stack. But there's, in our area, there was a definite kind of gap there to be able to kind of come in and target those particular landlords and spruce up a property, drive the rent up, get the rents that we then need to make a profit and go forward. So I've spoke for quite a long time there. Probably lost track of the question. But yeah, so how did we get into Rent To HMO? So that's how we initially did it. We did our due diligence on our area. We researched it to the nth degree. We found that there was a gap in the market. We found that there was certainly demand there, and we then created a marketing strategy to get into the door, or certainly get people on the phone to be able to have conversations, strike up dialogue, and try and negotiate deals going forward.
Lucy, but that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We got a lot to learn from you girls. Can I ask you now, so when you found your perfect property, what sort of things did you have to do to the property to bring it up to the standards and regulation of HMO rules, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, sure. So, I mean, for us, we have been so far targeting existing HMOs. Mm-hmm. So for our first two, they already HMOs, and luckily for us, they used to be. So our first two HMOs are in one huge big building. Actually, it used to be a care home. And it's since been split down into three separate dwellings. So we essentially took on two properties within this one building. The first one we took on was initially a 6-bed. We then, because of the regulations, and every single council is different. Every single council will have different regulations on and specifications on what is required to be licensable. So I would definitely say to your listeners, make sure you touch base with either your HMO officer in your local area, or if you don't have a specific HMO officer, because some councils don't, your housing officer will be able to point you in the right direction. So we took on the first one. It was a 6-bed, but actually two of the bedrooms had a partition wall that had been put in the middle, that actually had made one of the bedrooms too small in terms of the measurements. So we knocked that wall down, and we made that into a 5-bed HMO, and it's absolutely huge. It's massive, and now it's got 5 really good sized bedrooms in there. We've made it suitable for kind of working professionals. We've put some really nice furniture in there. Luckily, it already had a grade A fire alarm system, because it used to be a care home, so it had the fire alarm system, it had the fire doors, it had everything that it needed to have. So we were lucky in that respect. We didn't really have to do much to it to be licensable. The normal things that you have to do, so the electrical safety certificates you need to get, the gas, emergency lighting, all of that normal stuff, pat testing of, your electrical appliances, that's kind of a given. But thankfully we didn't have to do anything structurally to the buildings to make them compliant, I guess. And that goes to the first two that we have got. And the next 3, again, luckily, because we are targeting existing HMOs, because we're going through the HMO register to landlords that are registered, they're already HMOs, so they've already gone through that licensing process. So, more often than not, they're going to be good to go. Clearly, you have to do your due diligence when you get into your properties, and you have to make sure that you're being compliant, and that you can sleep at night, because that's the main thing, right?
100%. And for those who don't know, the rules and regulations of HMOs changed in October 2018, didn't it? And there were most of the landlords in the UK suddenly struggled because they needed to spend money to bring the properties up to the standards of what government requires. Now, so that's really interesting. The properties you found, they already were pretty much, yeah, more or less up to standard. So you had a little bit less work. So that's really good. That's a great tip as well, as you said. Now, if you aim to look for a landlords which they are already up to standards, or at least more or less, and they're just tired, that they just don't want to do this anymore, and someone like you come with your wife, energetic, full of drive and enthusiasm, you'll go like, you know what, give it to me, I'll give you guaranteed rent, and I'll do all the work. So well done. Absolutely amazing. Fantastic. Okay, so Lucy, and how are you managing the properties with your wife? Do you do it yourself, or do you have a managing company?
So we manage our properties ourselves. So we've got our small kind of buy-to-let portfolio we manage ourselves, but we know buy-to-lets are easy, no stress. You put tenants in, you cover your buildings insurance and your bits and pieces that you need to get done, all the other regulation, but they're easy. Like once you've done what you need to do, they're just easy peasy all day long. HMOs are a bit of a different story, and we are new. We are not experts in this. We are within the first year of this journey, so I definitely do not profess to be an expert. I certainly haven't had all the experiences thrown at us yet, but we've started to get some. We've had the difficult tenants, even just today Steph's been over at the property because there's been a leak from upstairs downstairs into one of the tenants' rooms, and then you have to get access to the room, and all the different kind of little systems that you try and put in place to make things easy. It's and even just like the tenants getting along, you have to put a lot of effort and mind space into making sure that you put the right people in the house, because if they don't get along, then you're going to have issues going forward. But and actually it's probably quite a good time to mention that at the minute, and I don't know if anyone else out there is feeling the same, but I think because of the lockdowns going on and everyone's at home, everyone's a little bit more bored potentially, and especially on the weekends, people aren't necessarily going to the pub, they're not going out with friends. So our HMO, and it's a good thing and a bad thing, but one of our HMOs, and it's again working professionals, they're all kind of mid-30s, mid-40s, they are just kind of party central at the minute. So we've even had like some complaints from the neighbours because like all of our tenants are kind of having a good time together, which is brilliant because they're all too well. And actually, they hadn't been in the property long before the lockdown, so they really got to know each other. But then, they're obviously having a bit of a good time as well. And we've noticed a disco ball that have been put in one of the communal spaces, which we kind of encourage because they're all a little bit older. They're not students anymore, but people, you've got to do what you've got to do to get by at the minute. So I think. Managing of HMOs is definitely more time intensive, and I would say if you're going to be getting into the HMO market, then I would definitely try and be close by. There's little things that you can do. So, you can have external key boxes with a spare external key. If somebody gets locked out, they can ring you can give them the code over the phone, they can let themselves in. Again, we have internal key boxes in the properties where each room, they have a spare key. So if they lock themselves out of their room, they can get in. Little things like that, you don't want to be getting a phone call at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning by one of the tenants. You can have a 5, 6, 7, 8 bed that's locked themselves out. So there's just these little processes that you try and put into place, and we're learning every single day.
Nice.
And it's certainly more time intensive, but we do it ourselves at the minute, because 2 reasons. Because we're a new business, so we want to do things the right way. But
you learn that way as well. You learn it, even if you're giving it to somebody else in the future, at least you know what to expect, because you're going to have your standards. It can be done. And also, if someone tells you this and this and this takes that long, you'll be like, that doesn't take that long. That can take only that long. Or it's just an example. So
Exactly. No, definitely. And we really wanted to learn like the grassroots. We wanted to learn like the tactical detail, like boots on the ground. We were fully, involved with all the refurbs, all the tenant onboarding, which, you know, even that in itself is a big task, you know. So we wanted to learn everything, and actually we're at a point now where we're just about to take on number 3, 4 and 5 in the next 2 months. So it's now we're at the point where we are bringing in a property manager. So we have put an advert out for a property manager. We've had 3 replies already. They all sound fabulous, and it's, you know, they're going to have some on-job training that we're going to be right there with them at the deep end. And, you know, we're all going to learn together. And, you know, we purposely wanted somebody that didn't really have an experience, you know, but is keen and motivated to learn and to hopefully grow with us as a business. So that's the next kind of chapter for us, is getting a property manager on board to help us. And we can then, you know, we can really see the growth and scalability within that model going forward. Because, you know, whether you're on your own, whether there's 2 of you, you know, there's only so many hours in the day, and especially if you are in full-time employment, you know, you have to.
But also, if you, like, some people, they plan, they only want like 1 or 2 properties to get a little income, little passive income, and they're happy with that. But you girls, if you want to scale, you know, people who want to scale, if you never let things go, you will never grow. I mean, you know, obviously not never, but you know what I mean? It will be much harder for you to grow, but that's sort of the expression, isn't it? You need to learn to let go in order to grow. And if it's simple as that, like, if you would be forever managing your property, it's going to take so much of your time then to actually sourcing the property, talking to landlords, making the deals happen, looking for tenants. Who would be doing that? It will take you so much longer. So yeah, if you, in order to scale, you slowly need to start letting things go, which is, yes, it's fantastic. You got 5 at the moment, and you are about to take more. As you said, maybe it's time to step away from this position. You're like, okay, you have this now. I don't want this now. I'm gonna be growing the business. So yeah, well done. It's a very entrepreneurial mindset. So yeah, well done. Right, so can I ask you, what other things do you leverage? Because I know that you have a VA, which means virtual assistant, or is that correct?
Yes, we have a VA. I'm not even going to say her name because someone will poach her, because she's amazing. But yes, she is incredible. We found her through the VA, the Viva Club. By Catherine. She's again a very, very successful businesswoman in the kind of progressive setting, and we found her through that. And she's based out in the Philippines. She is incredible, and she's really, really helped us. We employed her primarily to help us with our social media, because it's a big job. And we wanted to grow a presence, and we wanted to build something.
And working, because I keep seeing you every day, which is amazing. That's not exactly what you want.
But it is, you know, it's a full-time job if you wanted to kind of do it all yourself, and, you know, be on there constantly, and, you know, to be consistent, which is so important, which we all know is important, to be consistent. It's tough, and you know, something, you know, our VA has allowed us to do is just kind of, you know, step back a little bit. I could probably step back a little bit more than I have. I think I'm still a little bit probably, you know, I don't know, kind of not OCD about it, not controlling, but I just, you know, maybe our content's important. And actually what's probably worth saying is that, you know, we write all of our own content. You know, that's not something that our VA does. What she does is she helps us to push it out across all the platforms. Some of the motivational stuff she actually does create for us. But anything kind of property specific is all of us. You know, Steph and I that do that. And actually probably Steph does the lion's share of that. You know, I would say with our kind of business working relationship, I am probably more at the forefront, in front of the camera, so to speak, and you'll see me doing the live videos on, you know, all the different, you know, property group platforms. But, you know, a lot of the time it's Steph that's actually more of the analytical one, and she's the one that's kind of more kind of process driven, and I'm a bit more kind of flamboyant and out there, like, no, let's just do everything. And Steph's like, come back in, we need to like get a system in place, calm down.
Sounds like an amazing balance.
Yeah, I think we do I think we do kind of complement each other, I guess, quite well in that regard. So yeah, but a lot of the social media content, you know, is Steph's kind of, a lot of it is her kind of creation, really. And is more the word, you know, the word guru, as it were. But yeah, so our BA helps us very much with our social media stuff, and actually we are going to utilize her for some property specific jobs as well. So in terms of things like, you know, kind of setting up alerts on right moves in our, you know, in your goldmine area, where we have a very set criteria of things that we want to look for. So if a property has been on the market for more than 3 months, you know, if it's on for rent and to buy at the same time, if it's had a drop in value, you know, we will get her to data scrape that data, collate it for us, and then we can put it across into things like DocMail, where we can automate and generate our letters, our direct to vendor letters that go out. So again, we can leverage our VA a little bit more with regard to the property side of things, and really put it to good use. We've had her now for 5 months. We actually had a Skype call today, and then, you know, she wishes us a happy 5-month anniversary, which, yeah, is absolutely crazy that it's gone that quick. But yeah, so we really want to kind of grow her. We only employ her for 4 hours a day at the minute, but she certainly will be full-time hours, you know, very, very soon.
Amazing.
Yeah, she helps us so much.
And congratulations to your anniversary.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right, so that's amazing. So far it's your VA, and soon you're gonna get a management company as well. Yeah, so that's your leveraging so far, like outsourcing. Sorry, that's what I meant to say, is outsourcing. That's great. Now, when we mentioned tenants, how do you guys find tenants? Do you have any tips for the beginners out there? How do you actually look for them? Do you, with the tenants, do you go online, or is the word of mouth, or?
So we definitely use Spare Room. So we put an ad out on Spare Room. Once we have our kind of professional pictures taken, once we've done our refurbs, we get our professional pictures taken, and we get our ads out there. But actually, what I will say is, if you've taken our property and you want to get your ad out and you haven't yet done the refurb and you haven't got the pictures, then just use some generic pictures. And as long as you put a kind of little caveat on there that, you know, this is a true likeness, or, you know, these aren't the actual pictures, but this is what we aspire, you know, for the rooms to look like. And once you've got your first HMO up and running, whether that's rent to rent, or whether you bought it and you've got your first initial lot of pictures, and then you can just kind of rinse and repeat those while you go through that process. Or even if you've got pictures from your your buy-to-lets, if you have buy-to-lets already, or just something that, you know, you aspire to, you know, your flavour, your kind of brand, that, you know, the setup of what you would want your rooms to be. But yeah, we utilise Spare Room, we get an ad out there, and you know, as soon as they kind of click on our ad, you know, we're pretty on it in terms of, you know, we pick up the phone, we book them in, we do a general kind of filter on the phone, and I think that's something that you get used to with more experience of people that may not be suitable. But yeah, so we use Spare Room, we use Gumtree as well. Gumtree is a really good platform to use, and we also use Facebook. So we use Facebook Marketplace, which again is completely free. I mean, so is Gumtree. Gumtree is free unless you want to boost your post. And you know, the same with Spare Room. You can upgrade to, you know, more kind of you know, pricey price plans, but, you know, generally most of it's free or very low cost. So Marketplace on Facebook, but then also a really good place within Facebook is your local buy and sell pages. So in Plymouth we have lots of, you know, buy and sell pages in our area, and then again, that's a really great place is to advertise your rooms if you've got them available to let.
That's fantastic. And do you need to do any checks? Like, do you check your tenants, like referencing, for example? Do you have to do any of that?
Yeah, so I mean, we have used Vouch, so it's Bouch, Vouch, which is a referencing company, which is actually really, really good. It's really kind of intuitive kind of platform, easy, user friendly. I think off the top of my head, it's around £10 per reference for each tenant. Now, I think like anything, I think you have to trust your gut. Absolutely. But if you didn't want to necessarily use a company to do it, as long as things like landlord references where they've been before, but sometimes you might want to go to the previous landlord because the landlord that they might currently be at might want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So they might tell you anything just to get rid.
It's like, why are you moving out?
No, we've had that. So definitely landlord reference and the current employment. So if you are looking for working professionals, then you certainly want to be checking out where they work, get hold of their employer's mobile number and email, and get in touch with them. And then things like pay slips. The last 3 months worth of pay slips is something that we have used. And also bank statements as well, just to make sure that these people are sensible with their finances, they have been paying their previous rents on time, and that they can afford your room, which is the most important thing.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really, really good advice. What would be like your top tips from Lucy for the beginners who's looking to get a Rent to HMO?
I would say definitely get educated. And I think it's quite daunting for a lot of people in the beginning that they need to spend loads of money to get educated, which I definitely don't feel is the case. I think there's some brilliant groups out there, and I'm going to have to shout out to Blue Oak. Absolutely, they put some incredible free content out there, as do lots of the other groups as well. There's so many groups out there that you can kind of immerse yourself within, and the amount of live videos and pre-recorded videos that get distributed out now, people's YouTube channels, exactly what you're doing right now. This will be free content for people.
Oh, so as well.
Yes, I have a YouTube channel as well. Check it out on YouTube.
I'm gonna put so much details on the video. Don't worry.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, my darling. But yes, there's so much free content out there, and even low cost, like books, audibles. We dived straight in, and we really did read a lot of books. We listened to a lot of podcasts. It's invaluable information that's free. But it is good to be held accountable to stuff as well. So I would definitely, we are definitely advocates of getting yourself on training courses. Because you're just going to meet other people there as well, like-minded people like you. Potentially go and get yourself a mentor, and just be held accountable. And I think that's important. I think I really do feel like that's an important thing to do, and especially if you're on your own. So I feel like me and Steph are so lucky because we both share the same passion. We've got this business together now that we live and breathe. But God, if you were on your own, it's tough. I think it could be a lonely place to be. So I think I'm going off on a massive tangent again, but I definitely think if you're a beginner, then get yourself educated, but get yourself within a community, a safe place, a community where you can kind of get some content, you can get some advice from people, you can follow in people's footsteps, but you can also kind of follow what people have done wrong and don't do that, and just I think be part of a community, be part of something bigger than yourself, which I think is important. And I don't know, I suppose for me the tips are just be true to yourself. Like, think about what you want. What's your end goal? Like,
what's your vision, isn't it? Like, I think like what is it you want? Have a vision.
Yes, 100%. Have a vision. Yeah, completely. And I think Steph and I, we have a very clear vision of what we want, and it's almost like, think about what your, not necessarily the end goal is, because no one really knows that, but what's your why, what kind of where you want to go, and then almost like reverse engineer that back. Stay true to yourself, be humble. The main thing for me is be loyal. Be loyal to your community, and be loyal to other people. That I think even when you're starting out, you find very quickly that people will come to you, because you're already a beginner for so long, and then you've all, after a couple of months and you've done some things, you're further on down the line than the people behind you. So I guess just always be willing to help other people, because I think that will pay dividends in the long run.
It's the swings and roundabouts. You forever and ever, especially if you want to grow, forever and ever, you're going to be needing some sort of help. No, and it's like, because I call myself a forever student, so it's just one of those that if you always want to learn something, there's always going to be people you're going to reach out and ask for advice or for help. So it's like a swings and roundabouts that you kind of give it back. So someone shares something with you, it's time for you to pass, some information. That's what you're actually doing right now. You're sharing your knowledge with those beginners out there, which is just amazing and very kind. And very
but it's almost like it's a good feeling. Like it truly is, and I think I can't even imagine for 1 second kind of being sat here with you and having our chat like we are now, and actually knowing a little bit of stuff, and being able to share that with people, and
it's
that's
fantastic,
it's a cool thing.
Yeah, it really is satisfying, and
very much so.
It really is, because basically property is a people's business in many ways, isn't it? Like, you buy from people, you talk to people, you fill the property up with people, you sell to people. It's all about the people, and even just getting the right team around you, as you said, it can be a very lonely journey, especially if you are only one, let's say, in your circle, or it's like only two of you in your circle of friends or family who is into a property. And if you're going to it like full time, and you have a full-time job as well, you might end up saying no to many occasions when the friend's going, for example. So it is a very lonely journey. So surround yourself with the right people is incredibly important, and helping out, as you say, it's such a satisfying feeling. It's great. Okay, so you said that you read or listened to lots of books. What would be your top books, top 3, for example, or top 1?
So I think, so in terms of property,
it could be property or mindset. They relate.
Pardon?
It could be property or mindset. They relate. So
okay. I think for me, I think for a property beginner, I am definitely an advocate of Robert Mark's 50. I think it was 51 Secrets. Was it into property investing? And that was the first book that we read, which I thought was incredible. Just gave a really good. Have you got it there?
Yeah. There we go.
Brilliant book. Really, really, really good book, and just gives a really good oversight into everything. Is it 51 Secrets?
44.
They need more secrets.
Look, coincidentally, that one is signed by Mark.
I'm jealous. That's a great book.
I got 5 property books signed now by the authors.
I'm jealous. But for me, that was a great book for us kind of starting our property journey. Life Leverage, again, another one of Rob's. For me, that was a big game changer for me, Life Leverage, and actually, kind of realizing what's important and what's not, and kind of almost like getting rid of the dross in your life, and clearing the mind space, and focusing on what's important, but also kind of brilliant book, absolutely brilliant book, and just like leveraging out everything that you possibly can. As the 4 Ds. Is it delegate, delete, defer, and something else going? But
yeah,
I took loads from that book, and we've had a VA for the last 5 months. She's incredible. She's helped us loads. We're going to get a property manager because we just really understand the power of leverage. But that book changed wouldn't say changed my life as a big statement, but it definitely was definitely a game changer for me, and
Okay, do you have a third one maybe, or these are your two?
I think the third one will probably be. I mean, I'm reading a couple at the minute. High Performance Habits is a good one. The 12-week year is a good one, all about kind of periodization and not setting yourself to like big long-term goals, like the whole annualization stuff.
12-week year, I found absolute game changer as well. It's like, as you said, when people, it's basically, instead of overwhelming yourself that, oh, these are my goals for the next 12 months, you treat every 12 weeks like your 12 months sort of thing, isn't it? And you just break it down into smaller, and suddenly you're like, wow, I'm achieving more. That's amazing. Yeah, so definitely great book to recommend. Yeah, no, I listened to that one not long ago as well. Start applying
and I think the last one I think I've probably already said 3, haven't I? But probably one more, and it's a recent one again, actually, is the Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, every single person I interviewed recommend that book. So whoever's listening for the first time, or whoever's listening and never read that book, that I don't know what else could be more proof that Rich Dad, Poor Dad. 100%.
It's an incredible book, and I think his theories should be taught in schools. Children growing up, 100%. It's something that I don't feel like we do in this country enough. Really, is why are kids not learning how to do their taxes? Like stuff like that, like basic financial stuff. Like why
even things like
not understanding money.
Yeah, or even things like credit cards, credit referencing, credit checks, mortgages. I mean, we don't know anything. We finished school where you learn all about things I don't even remember now, maths and all that. Yeah, but what to do in real life with finances and how to get a mortgage, or things like, oh, is it safe to get a credit card, or when is it safe, or how to play this game well? No one tells you that. So that's why unfortunately many people get into debt, and especially like very, very young, which is sad. But we're getting there. Hopefully that will change one day. Okay, perfect. And now I always ask this question to every single person who comes to my show. For those who would like to watch something, instant, not for reading, but something to watch. It could be documentary, or it could be your favorite movie. Anything what changed your life, or something you enjoy watching in regards to your mindset.
So for me, in all honesty, kind of any surf or snowboard documentary is something that kind of completely levels me out. There was a documentary, I'm sure probably none of your listeners that are snowboard fans, but Mark Morris, kind of returning back from a horrible injury that he broke his femur, and then he almost died in a really nasty snowboard accident, and it was his recovery back and just the strength that it took to get him back to winning gold at the Olympics.
That's our mindset. That's brilliant.
For me, Mark Morris, he's a pro snowboarder, and he's had some horrible accidents and almost died several times. But so for me, any kind of snowboard documentary or a surf documentary, I just love it. Just kind of it's just my happy place. And I think anyone, ride property is all about kind of enjoying the ride, climbing the mountain, ride the wave. That's kind of our mantra. So
getting on board with properties.
Pardon?
Getting on board with property.
Yes. It's. But apart from that, I like a good Louis Theroux documentary. I think he taps into all the areas that people get a little bit uncomfortable with documenting. Louis Theroux, and then anything by anything on the Frozen Planet, David Attenborough. Absolutely love it.
Amazing, cool. Yeah, because even like when you said things about, like, you like watching, for example, with snowboard, about snowboarding, that's a lot about mindset as well, you know, like, for those who's listening. So let's say someone's not interested in snowboarding, but they can find something else which they love, and they can follow the people um, who are achieving their goals, for example, in that particular industry or sport, because you can learn a lot from that person about the mindset. So it's incredibly important. So yeah, that's a great advice. So you don't need to necessarily watch something like Warren Buffett necessarily, you know, you can watch something, as you said, someone you love about snowboarding, and you can learn so much. So yeah, that's a great advice. Cool. Well, I think we covered pretty much everything today. Lucy, you were absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that's oi oi oi. Classic. Yeah, so yeah, you were absolutely fantastic. I'm sure that all the listeners will learn a lot from you. There's a lot of golden nuggets in there. So if anybody wants to contact you, what's the best way to contact Lucy?
Oh, okay. So I'm on all the platforms. So Facebook, just request me on Facebook. I'm on there, Lucy Ingram. I'm on Instagram. We've got our Ride Property pages on Instagram as well, and Facebook and LinkedIn. We're on. We've got a website you can go and check out. In fact, it's just being it's just under construction at the minute, actually, so we're just improving our website. But yeah, that's www.rideproperty.co.uk.
I've seen it.
Contact me. I'm on all the social media forums. Just drop me a message. I'm always really keen to chat to people and to help where I can. So yeah, please just drop by and say hi.
Hi. Amazing. Yeah, you do love helping people. Like, I follow you on the social media, and the amount of content you put out there, you inspiring people, you helping, you sharing your up and down. Something goes right, something goes wrong, you're happy to share, obviously, for others to learn from as well, which is amazing. So yeah, thank you so much for everything you do, and we all wishing you and your beautiful wife all the best in your journey. I'm sure you girls are smashing it, and I'm sure you're going to be millionaires in no time.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a real pleasure and an honour, so thank you very much.
So excited you came today.
Good night, guys.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.